get it. Mike Sempervive here with you for the next hour talking about professional wrestling, which is something we do every single day here on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network. Tune in iHeart American Forces Radio, sportsbyline.com, all of our over-the-air affiliates. Maybe you're listening on podcast or a replay on SiriusXM. Maybe you're video streaming on Twitch or YouTube. However you're joining us today, just like to say thank you. Hopefully wherever you are, it's sunny outside. If not, hopefully it's sunny inside your mind. Overcast day here down on Delmarva. It's in the 60s. It's humid. I don't know how that translates to Celsius, but I don't think that's too far off the weather that Lance Storm is having right now in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. But we'll get him to break out the Old Farmer's Almanac and let us know how it's going there, because he's going to be joining me today in place of Brian Alvarez, who is out with his child, I believe, directing some children's theater. He'll be back with another overgrown child later on tonight, Vinny V, on the Brian and Vinny show for subscribers of the site. So it's Lance and I today, and as always, there's a lot to get into. AEW Dynamite was last night. A big change has been made to Anarchy in the Arena. Eddie Kingston is out, and believe it or not, Darby Allin is in. Broken foot, broken nose, and possibly a concussion, but he's going in there. We'll get Lance's thoughts on that. And before we go any further, just like to send out best wishes to Asuka, who was opened up regarding her knee injury on her YouTube channel. Asuka stated she was taking a break following Backlash to heal a knee injury. And the video ended with the words, "See you soon." So she had to take a break to treat her knee that had been hurting for a while. So she's very grateful to both Kairi and Dakota, her partners, as well as Io Shirai. So in March, Asuka was reported to have a potential knee injury that happened on an episode of SmackDown. She has not wrestled since Backlash in France and was replaced by Dakota Kai in the Queen of the Ring tournament. So all the best goes out to Asuka as part of her recovery, and we shall be back after this break on Wrestling Observer Live.
There's 1, 2. Now he's got Brian Alvarez. He whips him into the corner hard. Adam Firestorm following up, catches a boot to the face. Brian Alvarez with another hard shot to the head. 1, 2. This is the most aggressive I've seen Brian Alvarez today here in Portland Wrestling. Now he's got his knee across the throat. He's choking him, LC.
Well, it's like this week Alvarez has something to prove, brother. Something to prove to his sweet little lady over there.
Of course, Adam Firestorm with a big win over Black Dragon last week. Looking for another one here. There's a sunset flip. Is he going to go down? Yes, he is. Over he goes. 1, 2, 3. It is all over. Adam Firestorm with the victory over beautiful Brian Alvarez here in Portland Wrestling. Now out Brian Alvarez firing away with a boot. Action continues after the bell. Goes for the back body drop. No! Face first plant by Adam Firestorm. Your winner once, looks like he'll be your winner twice. Action continues. There's a whip into the far corner. Adam Firestorm follows with a spinning kick. LC, I think Brian Alvarez has bit off more than he could chew tonight. Miss Rentone really disgusted over in the corner. Adam Firestorm not done. There's a lion sold on top. He hooks him again. 1, 2. 2.5. I thought we had a 3 count earlier in this match, LC. I was wrong.
I can't believe it. I thought Youth Gone Wild was just adding a little salt to the wound. I thought Alvarez was Alvarez and a 2-time loser, brother.
Well, Mark Watson's hand must have stopped just short of the 3 count. And these eyes of mine need glasses, because I thought I saw a 3 count Brian Alvarez going up top.
Oh, well, forget about your cataracts, brother. Up and over he goes.
Nobody home. Adam Firestorm back in control, playing a bit of possum. He's climbing up top. Is Rento and Otto really upset? There he goes. Swamp.
Oh, and that one hit.
There's a hook the leg. 1, 2, 3. Now it's all over.
A 2-time loser. And does the LC have to look after Miss Rento and Otto tonight, baby?
There's Adam Firestorm, your winner in this match. Once, twice, 3 times, it didn't matter. Brian Alvarez not up to it. Miss Rento Onato absolutely disgusted with it. Mark Watson explaining to him it was a 3 count this time. No hook the leg. Fair and square, Adam Firestorm, your winner here on Portland Wrestling. Fans will be right back with after a message from our sponsors.
to the show. Mike Sempervive and Lance Storm here with you. We do the show right here for an hour at a time every single day, but if you want us 24/7, you can try to find me at least on X. I am at Sempervive. The website is at WONF4W, and the broadcaster is at Sports Byline USA. Jim Valley's here with you on Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and Andrew Zarian is here with you on Sundays, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I'd also love it if you made the wrestling news part of your day. Everything you need to know to get your day started or get you up to date in the world of professional wrestling. No clickbait, no speculation or rumors, just the wrestling news. Find it wherever you find your favorite podcasts, or head on over to thewrestlingnews.com and at Wrestling News AV on X and Facebook. The Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer Convention is taking place on Memorial Day weekend. Creeping up here, a couple weeks away. All of the information is available through the front page of the site or by heading to f4wonline.com/Vegas. Lance, what's the weather like by you, my friend?
I checked, and it's actually overcast and 65 Fahrenheit. So we are in the same boat, my friend.
Okay, where are we at with Celsius on that one?
18.
18. It makes it sound so cold.
Well, it's not when you are from any other part of the world.
Well, yeah, exactly. But Lance, you know, we got into it, Brian and I, yesterday, talking about the Janelle Grant lawsuit and the Vince McMahon's second response to Janelle Grant's response to his first response. We have WWE jumping on board, not surprisingly falling into line with John Laurinaitis and Vince McMahon as far as wanting the case to go to arbitration. Brian also talked about it with Dave for people who are interested on Wrestling Observer Radio today, but a lot of things now taking place back and forth when it comes to these filings, and that's going to continue here. But obviously, the Vince McMahon side has tried to cast some doubt and put some dirt upon the name of Janelle Grant, trying to put a little bit of a shadow on her reputation as things move forward, as well as having the PR firm on his side to try to clean up some of his messes and put a positive foot forward on what Vince McMahon is doing today. What are your thoughts about the newest developments and everything that has taken place here over the last week or so when it comes to this case?
The one thing I think people need to get a grip with, that WWE agreeing they would like to go to arbitration is being reported as WWE sides with Vince McMahon. And I think that's unfair. I think every company in the world with a situation like this, regardless where you would like to place blame, would want it in arbitration so that it is just dealt with and goes away.
Yeah.
That's a business decision. I certainly hope they're not backing Vince's stance on everything else. But the thing that makes me angriest, I think, is the concept of Vince wanting to rehab his reputation so he can continue to do business. People seem to forget all of the other stuff. Regardless of whether Janelle Grant was, let's say even worst case scenario for her, she was the initiator. She was willing. The CEO of this company got into a, let's say, freaky sexual relationship with a woman half his age, maybe less than that, and decided to give her a fake job in the company, gave her ridiculous, unjustifiable raises, and according to text messages and other facts, was not only having sexual relationships with her, was coordinating her doing so with other employees. She was a subordinate. This is not an acceptable thing for a person in business to do. And he has multiple other multi-million-dollar NDAs with female subordinates. It's like, regardless of this arbitration and rehabbing the consensual nature of this relationship, why would anyone outside of his billions of dollars ever want to do business with this man?
Because maybe they can relate to him. And I hate to say that, Lance, but I mean, why would you have people around you that would want to do business with you when you have all of these shadows? Because it's not just the subordinates. There are civilians. The tanning spa incident, the
Yes.
several others. And again, I always go back to looking at You Settled with Rita Chatterton and something you said you were never going to do because she said that you raped her. And then that NDA is there. So even if there is some truth into what he is saying about casting some doubt on Janelle Grant and these text messages, it certainly does not. What about all of these other things? And I think where people do want to hang WWE as a entity, on this is the fact that for so long, so many people did do business with him and did go working there and did buddy up to him, either as an employee, as an independent contractor, as a partner, knowing that there were dark things around him. Maybe not everything, but they knew there was some mud there. Now, I'm not saying that everybody knew everything and how dare you, go into business with this guy, because a lot of people don't. They're thinking of money. They're looking at money. They don't know a lot of this stuff, and they don't do their due diligence to see who they're getting in business with. But with that said, again, if you're around Vince right now and you're helping him put out these stories about saving kittens and all this sort of other stuff that he's doing, again, look into not only this, but everything else around him, and it doesn't present a pretty picture. And to me, almost no matter what he says, Ann Callis will do what she did initially, which was just go look back at the original document, and that speaks for itself.
Well, even still, as a businessman, he produced and got these NDAs signed without the company's knowledge, expensed them and had the company pay for them. And when the company found out he had to reimburse him, there's dodgy business. And then another thing, too, let's be honest, Vince McMahon as a businessman has failed at every single business he's ever attempted but wrestling. And his last 20 years showed a business decline and drop that once he left the company, business turned around and improved greatly. He doesn't even have a successful business track record over the last 20 years. Why would you touch and get into business with someone with not only all of the NDAs, the rape accusations, the poor business track record, the questionable business tactics of hiring your girlfriend if she was in fact consensual, and then, what's the word I'm looking for, secretively having the company pay for your NDAs for, even if they were, consensual relationships with subordinates? There is mounds of stuff here that cannot be rehabbed. They are facts. And if it turns out that she is more correct than him in the consensual nature of the relationship, it gets 1,000 times worse.
Now, Lance, we'll move it from one legal situation to another. WWE filed a complaint in February against Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton to not release to WrestleNomics, Brandon Thurston, the 2023 Royal Rumble Alamo bid that was put in, claiming that trade secrets that contain proprietary info would be revealed, and there's a loophole in the law that prevents the public release of the bid. WWE was initially granted an exemption, and then that decision was reversed in January. And this seems really silly to me, to be honest with you, because if you're using public money to go ahead and fund one of these events in a city-owned or town or state-owned business, it seems as if maybe you should have two files, one with the proprietary information and one for the information that I think should be out there for everyone to see.
Oh, I agree. The financial information should be public so that the taxpayers in that city or state are aware where their dollars are going. But we will get into the other issue, which is WWE keeping secrets. We get back from the break. Wrestling Observer Live.
It's a great question. Definitely, I think in the Hangman Page matches, that's when Swerve, I think, during his rivalry with Hangman Page, stepped up another level. I mean, I've thought for a long time Swerve's really, really interesting. in Casino Battle Royale in 22 and the Royal Rampage in 22. Swerve really, not long after he arrived in AEW, started making a splash, throwing out some of the biggest names in AEW, swerving people in Casino Battle Royale 22, swerving people in the Royal Rampage, and then getting involved with his own tag team partner and kind of a rivalry, and then becoming a world champion as a tag team star, and then breaking out in a singles rivalry. He just kept stepping up further and further and further. But I definitely think the biggest leap was during his rivalry with Hangman Page, and I think that's one of the best rivalries ever in AEW, Swerve versus Hangman. And tonight, I think it, he cemented his legacy, became the world champion officially, but certainly in recent months, I think Swerve and Samoa Joe has become this incredible rivalry. And it really, in recent weeks, I thought they had one of the best contract signing segments I've ever seen. And there's been so many contract signings in wrestling. We've seen so many. And I think for me, Swerve and Samoa Joe will go down as one of the best. And also, really, on Dynamite, went off with an amazing moment with that Swerve stomp on the pile and then the Muscle Buster. And they went into the pay-per-view on such a high note and then had an amazing match in the main event and left the pay-per-view on an amazing high note. It's been a really great week for the company in so many ways. And I think really, definitely Swerve has stepped up. But if the moment I think he took that leap is when you beat a former world champion like Hangman Page in iconic rivalry. I think that, really cemented him to me. MJF, one of the biggest stars in AEW. We haven't seen him in recent months. And I would love to get MJF back here sooner than later, like really soon. We would, we've got so many great things happening, and I think that would be really additive. He's one of our great wrestlers, and we've had great things happening in AEW lately. A lot of great milestones just in the last really couple months. I mean, to go from Revolution, one of the best shows top to bottom, great matches, like we listed out all the great matches, and to hit the button of Sting's retirement, maybe one of the greatest send-offs ever. I think the greatest send-off ever. And then have Jon Moxley win the IWGP World Championship, coming to Jacksonville this week to defend it against Powerhouse Hobbs. And then have Dynasty be such a huge home run. Everything's going so great for AEW right now. I think that would be something that would add a lot. That'd be awesome to have MJF back, and soon. I would love that.
Mike Sempervive and Lance Storm here with you, Wrestling Observer Live. Before we went to break, talking about the WWE filing a complaint against the Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton over the release of the 2023 Alamo Dome bid for the Royal Rumble. Lance, the WWE says it will lose bargaining power and do damage to the bidding process if this information is released. We have information from Puerto Rico and how much they got there. We have information that was put out by Cardiff, plenty of other places, Perth, if I'm not mistaken. That information was out there. This does not seem like a big deal to me at all. It just seems like it's negotiations. You know what I mean? Like, so what, that number was that number, as Fat Joe would say. Like, yesterday's price is not today's price. So I'm not seeing how we know they get tax breaks, we know they get cash, we know they get maybe a free building. I don't see how this is going to damage the process for WWE going in to negotiate with anybody about anything. Am I being too Pollyanna and not sure about this stuff?
Well, I think there is a benefit to WWE for keeping it secret. On Observer Radio last night, Dave and Brian were commenting, arguing over the claim that in Vegas, WWE claims there'll be 180,000 people, booking rooms and coming in for WrestleMania. and how they think that is such a bloated, exaggerated number. And if all of the numbers and details and economic impact of Texas come out and they seem less favorable than people might have originally thought, it could damage WWE's bargaining power in years to come if Texas or whoever it was that did the Rumble releases that they paid this much money and got a lesser return on their investment than they thought. So I can see where WWE would want to keep it secret, much like they don't like talent talking about who gets paid what. I would imagine they don't want the cities talking to each other to let them know how much each got.
And I don't blame a city that's in negotiations with a business not wanting certain information out there, because then they got to deal with their constituents. And I can certainly understand from the business side why you wouldn't want that information out there. But to me, it just seems like a fait accompli that if you are using public money for anything, the public's got a right to be able to go in and say, what are you doing with this money? So we can find out if we did get a return on some of these big events that come to town like WWE.
Absolutely. A freedom of information for taxpayers to know where their dollars are going. How much money did the city spend on these events? And how much return did we get? I think that is fair game for constituents to demand and get.
Going to stay in Texas for a moment, just because 9 minutes ago, as we record this show, All Elite Wrestling has noted that, as first reported by the Dallas News, AEW and the city of Arlington today announced a historic partnership that will feature AEW holding a summer series of events on the path to All In from Esports Stadium in Arlington beginning on Saturday, July 20th. There are 6 shows, Saturday, July 20th, Friday the 26th for Death Before Dishonor, and then Saturday, Thursday, August 1st, Saturday, August 10th, and Saturday, August 17th, all under the Collision banner, Lance. So that's interesting that they are reaching basically what is a kind of a long-term deal in show purposes. They're running about a week at one building. What do you think about that concept and this idea that they have?
If they can put butts in seats, it's a great way to save money, I would suppose, provided they don't have to take all of that equipment off for Dynamite as well. If they can leave it all there, and potentially, if the building's free, leave it up, it would save a lot of money. But that's a lot of weeks in a row to draw fans and have fans remain excited. And it's not like you can change course halfway through, because you can't book new buildings with a week's notice. So I would think it's a bit of a gamble, but certainly financially convenient.
This is interesting, too, because I know nothing about esports arenas, but apparently this is a 100,000 square foot complex. It's the Esports Stadium Arlington and Expo Center. So this is a truly dedicated esports. Again, and I am completely out of it as far as what the seating or any of that would be in a situation like this. So it's unique. I guess it's certainly another way you can go ahead and push the video games and not only the mobile games and all that sort of stuff too. But that just came out about 10 minutes ago, as I mentioned, from AEW. So there you go. They're going to move up a state, just because I want to get Lance's thoughts on this story. The Oklahoma State Athletic Commission is considering a rule change that would allow transgender professional wrestlers to perform in the state. This was posted up yesterday by Ian Carey on the front page of the site. The commission had previously warned AEW that matches involving a person of, quote, the heterogametic, I believe I'm getting that correct, sex born with XY chromosomes competing against someone of the homogametic sex of double X chromosomes are not permitted in the state. The warning came as a result of the commission being notified of a match between Nyla Rose against Alejandra Leon in December when AEW ran the Paycom Center in Oklahoma City. Through a public information request, WrestleNomics was able to obtain emails that show the commission notified AEW Senior Vice President Chris Harrington in January that they believe the above stated rule was violated. And they also went on to state that the commission is considering a change to the rule. And Jim Miller, who is the OSAC administrator, told AEW that if they agreed not to violate the state's rule again, his email would be as far as the matter would be taken. Apparently, on a Native American reservation where no commission usually would care about anything when it came to mixed martial arts and boxing, apparently there was a professional wrestling show which took place, and people were fined and temporarily suspended by the Oklahoma State Athletic Commission. Since then, those suspensions have been lifted, but this is completely ridiculous to me. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, honestly, so are you saying that, like, you know, are reruns of Bosom Buddies banned in the state of Oklahoma because Peter Scolari and Tom Cruise are dressed as women? Like, where exactly does this end? Because I can understand, especially in fight sports, why this is an issue and why people have strong thoughts about it. In the theater of the absurd, which pro wrestling partially is, especially at this point in the game, this is just nuts to me.
Well, yeah, even if you remove, which I think is the primarily behind this, the trans hate and all of the other garbage, they're not competing. This rule does not apply. Like, that's the ridiculousness of it. You know, are they willing to show, you know, or film a Wonder Woman movie where a female actress fights a male actress? Or, again, I'm not even going to attempt the XY and XX chromosome analogy that you read, but they're not competing. And like you say, if you want to have the debate on safety in a legitimate competitive sport, that's a completely different argument. But in pro wrestling, having issues with trans athletes, I don't see as anything other than transphobia, trans hate, and just creating a problem that doesn't exist. Let the woman have her pro wrestling matches with whoever she wants to, and leave Nyla Rose and any other trans pro wrestlers the hell alone, in my opinion.
People are making fun of me. Animal House levels of history from, like, okay, Joanna Man, like, I don't know what, like, a newer reference. What do you want me to say? Larry Johnson dressed as Grandmama will not be able to pump his Reeboks in the state of Oklahoma the way things are currently positioned right now. I find this story to be insane, and the more it continues on with anything that comes up about it, it just will continue to be just completely silly to me. And the fact that they even suspended, at one point, people that were performing, it's completely, there's better things to do with the state's time, certainly. Lance, Impact is tonight. I know, because we got to get into AEW Dynamite after the break, and I wanted to give you some time to talk a little bit about Impact tonight. Alan Angels against Leon Slater, Steve Macklin against Frankie Kazarian, Ash by Elegance against Zaya Brookside, and a 16-person tag team match coming up from what used to be the Washington Avenue Armory in Albany, New York. WWF ran there. I have audio tapes from the early 70s with shows taking place there and them hyping it up. What did you think about the building? And give us a little insight as to what we may be seeing tonight.
About the building, there's a lot of stairs in it. I'm nursing a bad knee, and going up and down those stairs all day as a producer was a nightmare to me. But other than that, Albany was great. We had a really good crowd. And yeah, the 16-person tag team match is a champions challengers style match where every single champion, 8 champions on one side, facing by 8 other challengers. We've got men and women on both teams. It is one of the largest, craziest matches I've ever been around. And I think you have to go back to the 88 Survivor Series where it was 5 teams against 5 teams to produce a larger tag team match. All right, there's the music, and we are going to break, so we will be back with you on Wrestling Observer Live.
We've almost reached the pinnacle of the tour, but this is one of the most important things. This is the computer This is the workstation where I do the majority of the actual physical part of putting Figure 4 together. I do the writing here, the editing here, of course the phone calls, even the microphone here when we used to do Wrestling Observer Live, which has since died. And in fact, I better put the screensaver on here so this doesn't get burned in the screen. But putting the newsletter together, people understand, it's a lot of hard work and dedication, like 2 to 3 hours per week sometimes I have to spend on it. And hold on a second. Figure 4, who's this? Carl Thorillo? Yeah. Yeah. Hey, listen. Can I call you back? I'm doing something here right now. My fridge? Yes, running. Hello? Prank call. Anyway, this is like I said, computer. Got the TV here. This is pretty much the place. This is going to be a quick tour of the trophy room. This is actually my trophy case. It's made of mahogany, very expensive. But what is worth far more than the case itself is what is inside, and that is the medals from the various sports and the accomplishments that I've achieved during my lifetime. This first drawer here is my gymnastics medal. Here, I got state and such. These are my Taekwondo medals. These down here, amateur wrestling medals. And down here are the 26 medals that I won in the 5-kilometer walk down to the Bothell Landing over the course of the past 5 years. And, you know, I realize that I'm a 4-sport superstar right here, and some people, you know, it might bother them that they haven't had such achievements in their life, but I think that the whole point is that you can achieve anything. You know, if you can make a great pie, you can win the pie eating contest at the Puyallup Fair, and I don't know, hell, if you can eat a good pie, you might win the pie eating contest as well. So there's achievement in this life for everybody.
Back on the show, Wrestling Observer Live, Mike Sempervive and Lance Storm here with you. Big boss man Brian Alvarez is out. He will be back on Monday. Got a new edition of Wrestling Observer Live coming up tomorrow. Not sure if Filthy Tom Lawler will be with me or not. He is facing off against Shelton Benjamin tonight in Los Angeles, I believe it is, for Prestige Wrestling. It's available through IWTV. So I know for Tom, that's got to be a great, because I don't think that maybe they cross paths, maybe in ROH with sometime backstage or something like that, Lance. But Shelton Benjamin, who still looks, I don't know how old he actually is, but he might as well be 35 years old, moves like a 25-year-old still, just incredible shape.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that I wish our paths crossed when I was still active. I always enjoyed working with guys that just athletically could do anything you could dream of. Great guy, amazing talent, and I'm jealous of Filthy Tom getting to work with Shelton Benjamin.
You know, before we get into Dynamite, I do want to note this as a couple of talks in the chat. It's been a buzz online amongst Japanese wrestling fans. The new president of Pro Wrestling Noah and DDT's parent company says he wants a stronger relationship with WWE, and you can check out this story in full on the front page as it was posted up there by Brian Rose. But during a press conference on Wednesday, Yasuaki Okamoto, who was appointed as the new president of Cyberfight, says one of their targets is to strengthen their relationship with WWE. And Lance, this is worrisome to people that see any association that WWE has with anybody as being possibly cancerous, because we have seen them try to stick out their tentacles in the UK. They've tried to in Japan for years, and it's a new administration. It's a new world in some ways, but what are your thoughts about people being concerned about WWE? And I mean, honestly, from a business point of view, taking the fans out of it, I'm sure they want to have a WWE Japan. I don't think that could ever possibly happen. But to have Noah be a satellite or a possible satellite, what are your feelings on that as a wrestling fan?
I'd certainly be more optimistic of it now under Triple H's helm than Vince McMahon's, because Vince was always so controlling, and I don't think he understood the other companies and other cultures in, Japanese wrestling, Mexican wrestling in particular. And I think Hunter would be way more knowledgeable. I agree with you. They would probably love to have NXT Japan, but I think that's a tough nut to crack. And I think Hunter knows that. So I think a working relationship has far more chance of succeeding, because I think Hunter's a little bit more understanding of wrestling culture.
Keiji Muto being appointed as an official scouting advisor for Pro Wrestling Noah. He will never go away. Well, and I'm not that I want him to be honest with you. I don't want to see him wrestle anymore, that's for sure. And after that big ceremony he had, he damn sure should not be allowed back in the wrestling ring. But president of All Japan, being a foreman in New Japan, he has been around everywhere for a long time. Any thoughts on Keiji Muto, the Great Muta?
Well, talking about regrets, I regret that we were both in the United States title tournament in WCW together, but we were on opposite sides of the bracket and never met. As a fan, I was a gigantic fan of the Great Muta, and I would have loved the opportunity to lace him up and go toe-to-toe with him, but I missed it by just a little bit.
History will never be kind to the NWA in 1989, but as somebody that was watching it intently and was all about it at the time, Terry Funk, Ric Flair, Great Muta, Sting with Gary Hart's involvement was just absolutely awesome. I will always cherish that little bit of time. Business-wise, it was terrible, but that wasn't their fault. There were a whole lot of other things working against it, but AEW Dynamite had playoff basketball, playoff hockey working against it last night, Lance. Angel of the Winds Arena in Everett, Washington. I was hoping Brian Alvarez would jump the rail and possibly challenge Chris Jericho, and they could both knock each other out. That, unfortunately, didn't happen. But the show did open with Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson against Jeff Cobb and Kyle Fletcher. A big brawl on the outside to start before they got back in the ring. Heavy hitting the entire time. I will just die on the hill that people have not done Jeff Cobb right in major professional wrestling companies. The finish came when Cobb lifted up Moxley onto his shoulder so Fletcher could deliver the Doomsday device, but Moxley shook Cobb off. He got hit with a Danielson knee. Fletcher was hit with the Death Rider DDT, and it looked really good. Brian said it looked even better in person. It looked fantastic on TV, like he absolutely spiked him. After the match, Konosuke Takeshita ran in and gave Moxley a German suplex and an elbow to the head while Fletcher and Cobb beat on Danielson. Claudio Castagnoli ran in with a big old giant metal pry bar to make the save. But what did you think about how the show started? I thought them starting it hot on the outside of the ring, getting in, I thought that was a really good way to start the show.
Yeah, I always like when a show starts excited, but obviously not every time. So once in a blue moon, it's great. It grabs you by, the seat of your pants and makes you, oh, geez, I'm glad I've tuned in. So I was a big fan of that. I wonder if Taz has ever managed to look up what that large crowbar is actually called. That was killing him.
He was struggling.
He was struggling. I think it's just a large crowbar, dude.
Yeah, I think they just get, at that point, it's a pry bar, I think, when it gets to a certain size. It's crow, then pry after that, I think.
Could be, yeah. I'm with you. Like, I hadn't seen much Jeff Cobb. I'm not even sure if I've seen Jeff Cobb before this. And it hurt a lot, so I was really curious. And I thought, for the most part, he wasn't a significant part of the match, if you will, really. And I was a bit disappointed I didn't get to see more of him.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's not like he's a super promo or anything like that, but you got a legitimate Olympian who looks like that. I just think he could have been a better heavy and still can be a better heavy utilized by New Japan, AEW, or somebody else. On the indies, obviously, because of his size, he gets to stand out. And those power moves that he does look even more impressive on guys who are 140 pounds, as opposed to 220. But it's still, he's an incredible, incredible athlete. Swerve Strickland was up next with a promo video package showing off some of his recent media appearances, which I think is important to make sure that he is being seen getting out there, and you want to give the image that, yeah, man, our guys are out there, they're not doing TV shows, they're doing media appearances, they're throwing out first pitches, all that sort of stuff. Basically, it was to hype up his title match coming up against Christian Cage. At that point, TNT champion Adam Copeland came out to do an interview, but was attacked on the ramp by the House of Black. And long story short here, they held Copeland's arms as Malachi sat down, began cutting a promo. He then told them, being the House of Black, to take off Edge's wedding ring, which they did. King choked Copeland out, and Buddy took it off his finger, handed it over to Malachi. Kyle O'Reilly tried to run down to make the save, and he ended up getting laid out as well. That led to a promo later on in the show from Malachi that said that the barbed wire match shows that Adam Copeland still has that dark side in him, but once he beats Adam Copeland, he is going to have to bow down onto a knee and I guess profess his love of the House of Black, I guess. Lance, what did you think about this whole deal with Adam Copeland and Malachi Black?
It had a cool feel to it, but it was odd to me in that it feels like Adam Copeland has two things at stake, and Malachi Black has none. The title's on the line, so if Malachi Black wins, he gets the TNT Championship, and Adam has to bend the knee to House of Black. Is there anything on the line that Malachi Black has to do if Edge wins? It seems unfair.
And will this lead to Beth Phoenix having to come back to turn Adam Copeland? I have a real worry that he is going to go full spooky dark side here and have to bow down to a knee and then be a part of this group. And then at that point, with the wedding ring now actually playing a part into this, I mean, would it feel like, does it feel like to you some foreshadowing that Beth Phoenix might have to come in and get her man's head straight again?
You would think just that when they go to wedding ring, it's like she's the only other person connected to that ring. So you would think, but House of Black doesn't have a female participant to balance the sides with Beth. So I have no idea where it's going, because to me, if you were going to turn Adam Copeland, you would associate him with Christian.
The Young Bucks faced off against Christopher Daniels and Matt Sydal in a non-title match. Jack Perry joined the commentating team. Bucks held the heat on Sydal for most of the match until he was able to get the hot tag to Daniels, but eventually the Bucks regained control. They sent Sydal over the barrier into the crowd and then hit the Tony Khan driver on Daniels to win. Afterwards, as they made their way to the back, the Bucks stopped on the stage. They turned around and said they've been trying to rid the locker room of toxicity, and Daniels is screwing things up. So Matt fired Daniels. They told him to pay his family for 30 days, and his security would escort him out, and then Jack Perry poured a Woo energy drink on Tony's head and also left. And I don't like when they're touching the announcers like this with very little to be gained from it, Lance. I don't know.
Do you think Tony got the heads up or no?
No, I don't. Actually.
I don't either. But yeah, Christopher Daniels can still go. And the other thing that I was really grateful, because I was afraid they would, like, I don't think anyone should make any Vince McMahon references on any show. I was really worried and very relieved when they didn't say, "We wish you all the best in your future endeavors."
Yes.
I was glad they avoided that. I think that was wise. And Christopher Daniels can still go.
Yes, he can. And Frankie Kazarian, his old partner, can still go, too. As we talked about, he's going to be today. Has he ever made any music for you, Lance? Because that was new to me to find out that he even had a band, let alone produce Chris Daniels' new theme music.
Yeah, I may have to talk to him this weekend in Cincinnati and get him to produce some theme music for me so I can play backstage when I go to Gorilla.
Joe Henry gets to sing backup vocals in that too. After another break, we had the Malachi Black promo, and then Hook smashed Sebastian Wolf, T-Bone Tazplex, forearms to the face, and then the rub for the win. After the match, Hook grabbed the mic, said he wants the FTW title back, called out Chris Jericho. He and Big Bill come down to the ring, and Jericho was being his classic disingenuous D-Pack self, turned up to 11 or 13 or 14, wherever the dial can go. That's what he's got it up to. He has reinvented himself and done things like this several times before, Lance. We've seen him reinvent himself. We've seen him take things from the fans and then give it back to him. He seems to be doing it in spades now. What do you think about Jericho as the learning tree?
Well, he's clearly a really smart guy. And I think the key to him being smart is he doesn't swim upstream. He's willing to listen to the crowd, see where they're going, and he adjusts and makes it work. There has been times in the past where people seemingly had said, that's enough, he's old news, he's done, and he finds a way to make it work. And there was backlash to him this run, and he's finding a way to make it work, and kudos to him. I guess you don't get to throw that GOAT moniker around unless you have the ability to keep finding ways to make it work.
Quickly, what are your thoughts on Timeless Tony Storm, who still is apparently the heel, and Serena Deeb is apparently still the babyface in their feud?
Yeah, I'm a big Tony Storm fan, and Serena Deeb too, but yeah, I'm confused by the insistence of being so. It's the opposite of Jericho. It seems like they're swimming upstream. She's trying to be a heel while being super popular, when doing it the other way would really make it work. It's confusing and baffling, but we can try to figure it out when we get back from break. Wrestling Observer Live.
How long do I have to do this? Week after week, night after night, before you realize that I am the one who is transcending this business. Just because I don't go out there and say it doesn't mean it's not true. Do I really have to tell you every single night? Are you that thick? Too busy chasing people, blithering about goosebumps and levels and storytelling and cinema. Go see a fucking movie. Nicole Garcia thought about joining AEW when she saw what Mercedes did. You know why she didn't? Because then she saw me and realized she can't hold a pussy-scented candle to what I do. I am the one taking this company to new heights. And I don't even try to. I'm just being me, and it's the greatest thing I could ever be. And it's the greatest thing that could happen to all of you too, for every one of you who saw me all those years ago and thought, she has potential. You had absolutely no idea it was going to get this good, did you? Tomorrow morning, your headlines should read, holy fuck, was I wrong? And Anthony, I promise you, no matter how many matches I win, no matter how many stories I finish, I will never call you into the ring to celebrate with me. Being timeless means I'm not on your watch. My success is my own, and we're damn lucky to be a part of it.
Thank you.
And if any of you have a single question after that, you're as stupid as you look.
Beautiful. Thank you for your time, Miss Storm.
That was wonderful. Wonderful.
Does anyone dare throw a question?
Question over here.
Storm?
You're be able to follow that.
I got one, Garrett, Pace Magazine. I just want to know who in the company was like, Luther looks enough like Eric von Stroheim to play Tony's butler. All right. Good call.
Otto Preminger.
Oh, Stroheim and something like that.
Yeah, Otto Preminger.
Oh,
Yeah, you might be right.
I'll go to IMDb.
Any other questions?
Right here. Daryl with Cove Lakeland TV. I just have to ask, have you had a discussion with Tony Khan for Double or Nothing to finally get your match with Wendy Richter?
Ooh. Ooh.
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to work out. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Question over here.
You may be timeless, but I don't think she is.
Angel at Wrestling News Co. Mariah May is ranked number 4. Are you at all thinking about what happens if she moves up to number 1 maybe later this year?
Sempervive Lance Storm here with you, Wrestling Observer Live. Time to put a bow on this thing, but before we do, 2 other things took place last night on AEW. One of which, Willow Nightingale, Dr. Bomb, Mercedes Moné through a table. Mercedes Moné and Willow will face off for the TBS title coming up next Sunday in Moné's first match back. Lance, what did you think about the interaction? Always like Willow Nightingale, always think she comes across great. I would not bet one single penny on her in this match coming up against Mercedes, though.
No, but I like you, love Willow. She's that person that, and I use air quotes here, wasn't supposed to be the one to get over. She was never the hyped signee, but she got over because people just like her because she's nice. And that gives me faith in humanity. Willow is a likable, happy person, and she brings me joy.
Kazuchika Okada seems to be quite happy, but he also seems to be kind of a prick right now and faced off against Dax Harwood. And long story short, Kazuchika Okada retained the AEW Continental Championship, but from outside the ring after the match, when FTR and the Elite started getting it shaken there with Bryan Danielson, Darby Allin appeared, and the man was hit by a bus in the face, Lance, while suffering from a broken foot, and he announced after the show he could have had a concussion. What do you think about Allin actually coming back?
I think he's insane. Send us home, Mike.
You know what's insane? What's insane is Lance Storm, who does not do this for a living, certainly not every day of his life, hit every single break. Every single one of them. And boy, did that make producer Dom very, very happy. And that actually makes me just a little bit sad because I'm like that. I want to also thank producer John, thank Lance, kind of thank Dom, and thank all of you out there for listening and watching. We shall talk to you again after a while.